So I'm here at FantasyCon 2019 in sunny Clydebank. Here at the what is it called again? The Golden Jubilee.
The Golden Jubilee
Conference
Hotel Centre, which is also a hospital apparently as
yes,
well. Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
Which is great, you know.
Yeah. It's a fantastic setting for FantasyCon, and I'm joined by Stephen Laws, the author of several books, including Chasm, which is being re-released. Reprinted by PS Publishing, and it had its launch yesterday. Stephen, what can you tell us about the history of Chasm? Because I think it was first published in 1998.
Yeah, it's a 20-year-old novel, and it was my horror epic when it came out. I guess the equivalent is Stephen King had The Stand, and Chasm is my kind of end of the world epic scenario, and it's a novel I'd been working to right from the beginning, in the sense that all of my other novels had aspects of Chasm in them, and I knew when I got to write it that it would be the epic that I wanted it to be. Unfortunately, when it came out, it was published at the time when horror collapsed in the UK, and it didn't really get the distribution or I was quite disappointed. It didn't have the effect that I wanted to have. But hey, that's writing life. That's the way things go in publishing and whatnot. So it was well reviewed. It was nominated for a British Fantasy Society Award here, and it lost out to Stephen King's Bag of Bones. But coming second to Stephen King isn't bad. And it's been published ever since. It had a prologue missing from it, and a couple of chapters that were dear to me, and there was an editorial argument about that we won't go into now. But basically, I knew that Chasm, as it was then when it came out, was pretty much what I wanted it to be. But the lost prologue in the chapters was something that bugged me a little bit. However, Peter Crowther and Nikki from PS Publishing did a survey of books that were out of print, which Chasm was, and they asked the readers which novel would they like to see back in print again, what was their favourite one, and Chasm came, I'm pleased to say, top of the list. So when Peter and Nikki got in touch and said, can we republish this in a special edition, I said, my God, yes, absolutely, yes, please. My heart and soul is in this book, but only if you include the missing chapters and also the reinstated prologue, and of course they were happy to do it. So we've had that launch now. It's had a great reception. I'm so pleased to have this as it was meant to be seen. It's in a special edition, large format paperback, and a wonderful hardback with fabulous artwork. And they're so kind. They asked me for my advice on the cover and the artwork, and we got into that. And as it stands, it is the book that I always wanted it to be, and it's been really lovely this weekend. Some people have been saying some very kind and nice things about the book, and buy it now.
And what is the basic premise?
It's a town called Edmundville, sort of in the northeast of England, when an earthquake hits. So we don't get earthquakes up there. When the dust clears and everybody looks around, you have this very surreal situation where reality seems to have disappeared, apart from the fact that buildings and supermarkets and partial office blocks are now perched on blocks of stone over an impossibly deep crevasse. And basically you have ragtag bag of survivors who are now trying to survive what's been left, and as they're dealing with the realities of this earthquake scenario, trying to wonder what the hell happened, something evil and dark and primal and primordial is coming up from the chasm below. It really is starting to attack and play with them, and it's in the tradition of things that I like, with ordinary people in extraordinary circumstances drawing on hidden reserves of strength they never knew they had, having to fight implacable forces that they don't understand, of course, but also having to deal with people who can't do that, evil people who want to take over and do these things. It's in the tradition of all the novelists and writers who have inspired me over the years, like Richard Matheson, Nigel Neal, everything that I've loved about this. But this was my 11th novel, I believe, 10th or 11th, and it was I kind of brought everything into play for this that I'd been using beforehand, and I'm so chuffed and so pleased that it's out there again. And I hope if anybody reads it that they'll enjoy it. Get in touch. Let me know.
When this was first published in 1998, the world of horror fiction, especially in the UK, the publishing market, is very different now to what it was at that time.
Yeah.
What do you think about where the horror genre is now and publishing?
Well, the publishing industry has changed so much in so many ways. It's difficult to give a straight answer to this. But of course, horror did collapse, and there was a kind of night of the long knives took place, where a lot of very popular horror novelists fell by the wayside. And a lot of them ploughed on and kept going. A lot were by the wayside. I kind of semi-survived that because it's the publishing industry changed, readership stuff changed because it coincided, from my point of view. This coincided with the horror readership fell away because there was so much great stuff happening on movies and TV, and horror, people could get the horror fix elsewhere other than the kind of thing we were doing back then. Not all of us, but me, I guess. And you'd have wonderful things were taking place on television. My daughter's favourite TV series of all time is Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which is magnificent. But she got her fix from that because there was nothing in fiction like it at the time. So everything changed, and there were survivors. There were great beacons who kept on going, like Ramsey Campbell. Stephen King's the biggest name of all, but Ramsey Campbell kept going, and he kept saying, "Look, I'm a horror writer." And I took a big lift from that and kept going with that one. But now, what used to be called vanity publishing and was to be avoided at all costs is now non-existent, because now with the technical abilities we've got with people and with Kindle and all kinds of things, people are now self-publishing in a way that used to be sort of like sneered upon in the past, but now isn't so much. The difficulty, I think, is sorting the wheat from the chaff. So there are people who are self-publishing, if you like, if we can call it that too, with their own imprints, who are bloody good and doing a great job. There are others who are not so good. So it's a question of finding out what's good and what's not good. That's the difficulty for the reader, I think. You've got wonderful writers like Adam Neville, who has his own imprint now. Stephen Gallagher has his own imprint. These are great writers. There are other writers out there who are less great, who are publishing stuff, and it's difficult because you need to know which ones are doing the best things. So there's a lot of choice. It's finding the great stuff. But of course, the way to find it, as I've always said, is right from the beginning, is you've got to read. If you love horror, you've got to read. You'll find what you like, you'll find what you don't like. If you want to write horror, and this is what these conventions are all about. I've just had a wonderful conversation with two couples who attended their first horror convention. Horror convention. It's the British Fantasy Society convention, but they're two couples who are horror fans who just had the most wonderful time talking to horror writers and getting a real shot in the arm. So there's still a vitality. There's still the need, the want for horror in fiction and that. And I find it now. It's my love and my ambition to show other wannabe writers what they can do if they really love the genre. You can do it. Of course, you've got to read. If you're not reading, you can't write. That's the key. I've been a president of a couple of writing groups, and I'm telling you now, if you're not reading anything, you can't write anything. That's the key.
And what you should be reading is Chasm.
Thank you so much.